Thank you very much for spending some time here with us at the Swiss Embassy in Seoul.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's really nice having you with us today. Thank you. Gabi, we run these series of interviews to explain to Swiss startups the challenges and opportunities that Korea has in store for them. You know both countries, Korea and Switzerland, very well. And you wrote a thesis at the University of Applied Science in Lucerne on leveraging creativity through cultural diversity. So now, in your experience, how could Swiss startups leverage their creativity by immersing themselves in the Korean culture in general and in Korean business culture in particular?
Well, the essence of the thesis was really about how, converging and diverging cultures, just different cultures, how they can really have greater innovative output because they have an exchange and they have frictions, right? Because of the differences, they are forced to, look at things differently, and they can access from a greater pool of knowledge and skills because it's, the two cultures can combine it. And that's why I think this also applies totally to Switzerland and Korea. Switzerland and Korea are two of the most innovative countries globally, and that's why there's no doubt that a combination and a symbiosis of the two cultures would create great output.
Mm-hmm. So Gabi, in your experience, how could Swiss startups leverage their creativity by immersing themselves in Korean culture in general and business culture in particular?
That's an interesting question. I think when two cultures collide but also have an exchange and they work together, the beauty in it is really that they can exchange by enlarging the general pool of knowledge and skills, so they can access from more than before. They need to challenge their conventional thoughts, and even be it through friction. And I think Switzerland and Korea being one of the most innovative countries in the world, I think there's no doubt that there would be a great outcome if they work together and have a great exchange and create output together.
So it's often said that one of the challenges here in Korea is the high level of competition and the crazy speed of development. So what are necessary success factors for a Swiss startup to survive here?
So I think it really comes down to three key factors. The first being, as Swiss startups that want to enter Korea, you really need to understand the Korean culture, but not really because of, to cope with the cultural differences. It is really important because you need to localize in Korea. The localization rate, to be successful, you really need to localize, and it can be seen by all the global brands that have very strong local offices here, and they really invest a lot, and they put a lot of resource into getting the latest trends in Korea and really trying to see what the Korean consumers want to cater to them. And the second one would be to understand the digital environment of Korea, because in Korea everything is digitally connected. It's one of the key aspects to look at when you come to Korea. The offline, I would recommend to new startups to really start with the online area first rather than the offline. I think it's obsolete now. We have a very high penetration rate. Not only when it comes to smartphone usage, but also internet usage. I think it's above 95%, right? So you can reach almost everyone using the internet. And also one of the challenges is that the digital environment is changing so fast. And that's why even though you have learned about the digital environment, you need to educate yourself continuously. Really, I can tell you within 6 months, there will be new digital platforms, features and trends. That's something that Swiss startups must keep an eye on. And the third thing is really, since it's such a unique market and such a challenging market with the demanding consumers, it's very important to have very strong local partners. I think the Swiss Business Hub would be one of them, for example, but also local agencies and consulting firms are key partners that you need to acquire, because otherwise it's really almost impossible to find it on your own.
So the company you're actually working for could be such a key partner, right?
Exactly.
Can you elaborate a little bit what kind of projects you are currently doing for your clients in the startup arena?
So I work at Asiance, and Asiance is a digital marketing agency. We call it brand tech agency, and we help global clients, but also of course local, but mostly global clients to really activate their digital strategies in Korea. And in my team in particular, we carry out consulting and research projects for them so that they can have the best digital strategy that works in Korea. So because we had so many questions from startups, but also already established multinational companies that want to come to Korea, and we have, for example, now developed a website called Asiance Academy, where we have two key services. One is workshops that help those companies understand collaboratively within their team what you need to do in Korea, how to improve your strategies, etc. And the second one being knowledge transfer services, where we really educate our clients and prospecting clients on what is needed in Korea and how to calibrate their strategies in Korea.
Good. So previously we were talking about the need to localize, to really look at the digital environment, and then also to finding local partners. So then why should a Swiss startup actually come to Korea? What is in store for them? What would be the benefits for them coming to Korea?
Well, I think I would recommend if a Swiss startup is looking to enter Asia, I would definitely recommend South Korea, because I think it's somewhat in one aspect it's a little bit less challenging than for example China and Japan, where it's a little bit more isolated and they have their really isolated digital environments, because first and foremost the geographical infrastructure is just great. You can ship to any city in Korea within, I don't know, overnight. The majority of the population is located here in Seoul, which means you can reach them very easily. But also the second factor is you can, due to the internet penetration rate and smartphone penetration rate, you can reach almost the whole population digitally. And we have also seen, especially during the pandemic, that even up to 50, 60 plus year old consumers, they now do a lot of online shopping as well. So to sum up, high accessibility is one of the reasons why they should come to Korea. And the second one is, yes, if you have done it in Korea, if you have been successful, you can do it also in Japan and China. I assume it would be a little bit of a proof, we call it the test bed of Asia, so it would be a good proof.
Yes, but to be honest, is it easy to find clients here?
Well, it depends, but I would say yes, generally yes, but it's really about how to position yourself, regardless of how you are positioned in Switzerland or in other countries. You have to rethink and really come out of your conventional ways. And once you are fully localized, once you understand the Korean consumers, why not? Because Korean consumers are more than ready to purchase high quality products. I'm not sure if it's because I'm Swiss too, but I think Swiss products have great quality, and the Swissness is perceived quite well here. And as long as you can communicate that clearly, Koreans would be more than willing to try out your services. They're very curious.
Excellent. So let's open up the discussion a little bit. So until 10 years ago, Korea was mainly known by their electronic gadgets, by mobile phones, cars and industrial products. Then in August 2012, the music video Gangnam Style went viral and really topped the charts in more than 30 countries. Today, international headlines relating to Korea are dominated by the creative industries. BTS, Blackpink, movies such as Parasite or very recently Squid Games seem to take the world by storm. So what in your view are the reasons for the global popularity of brand Korea, of K-pop, K-drama, the K-beauties or K-fashion?
So back, like 20 years back, as you have mentioned, I think that's when Korea really started absorbing the Western media, absorbing what is really hot in the world. And they were very good at adapting, and making it their own. And this has also something to do with the culture differences and how you can harness, innovation and creativity through, an exchange. But I think one of the key reasons is because, yes, Korea and K-pop, everything like this is new to the Western market, but it is still relatable because for example, K-pop groups, they include a lot of international members. They really look at the global aspect as well when they start out, but also the movies and the series that you have mentioned, they discuss topics that are globally discussed and that are really relatable for every, I would say, democratic or especially Western countries. And to add on to that, from a digital aspect, I think one of the key benefits of spreading the K content was really the fact that Koreans use YouTube, Instagram and Facebook, just like the other Western countries. That's why I think it was easy for the content to spread very quickly. Psy, Gangnam Style being one of them, yeah.
So then let me add another question. How could Swiss startups or Swiss companies for that matter, how could they benefit from the global popularity of the brand Korea?
Well, as much as Korea now exports culturally or in products and services and goods, they also like to import, right? So the Swissness, the brand is actually really well received here. It has high credibility. So I would say now that Koreans, have higher disposable income, are more open to, experience more, high quality products and services. Yes, I think it's the perfect timing for Swiss companies and startups to really show what they can do and their high quality products and reach Koreans. So I think all in all, there's an increased exchange between those two. So as much as we give to the world, we also now take. That's why even global brands are very, very popular here. Yes, we have many local players such as Samsung, LG, all the big companies, but there is always still a lot of place for other foreign brands as well.
So you're building me a wonderful bridge to the next question. So shoppers here in Seoul, they are actually queuing up for hours to get Louis Vuitton bags or Rolex watches for that matter. I have seen nowhere on the planet, I have seen such a density of European luxury cars. Are Korean consumers brand victims and just fall for the shiniest and most expensive brands?
I'm going to be a little bit careful, but somehow yes and somehow no, because you said that they like expensive and special and all that fancy stuff, but in essence I think that it is more that Koreans really value quality, and it is because Koreans really care about the well-being now way more than before. Work-life balance has become now a really good thing. People really want to treat themselves now. So in essence, if Swiss startups and companies can successfully really convince the Korean consumers how their products can add value to their life, how it can increase their life quality, I think you can really capture Korean consumers very quickly.
To round up the whole thing, I would like you to tell me 3 convincing reasons why Swiss startups should enter the Korean market.
The first one, I think, is high accessibility, as I mentioned, because you can reach them, almost the whole population, very fast. Second, I think Korea is a great challenge for Swiss startups with the demanding consumers and with the speed, with the pressure. Yes, it's a little bit difficult and challenging, but it's a great challenge, I think, to go into other Asian markets as well and to test your own potential. And the third reason is really dear to my heart, because whenever I go to Switzerland, I think like, I would really love to bring this from Korea to Switzerland. Swiss people would love it, but also vice versa. When I come to Korea, I think like, this product from Switzerland or this service would be so great here. It would have great success. And as I said, being, Switzerland and Korea, they're 2 very innovative countries. I think they would have great symbiosis if they work together. I think the output would be great. And this is why I think if Swiss startups are interested in Korea, go for it. Willkommen in Korea, es ist recht cool da und ihr seid immer herzlich willkommen.